Greetings and salutations, I am Scojo in 360. Do not adjust your monitor. This color on my face is real. I didn't oversaturate in post. No, it's getting to be that time of year in Central Oregon where we're coming out of our winter and we're coming into our sunshine and we're forgetting to wear sunscreen. Who would do that? I don't know. But I digress. Welcome to another edition of the 360 community. I created this because I love interacting on Facebook on 360 communities. There's a lot of pages out there on Facebook where if you have a problem, you just post it up there and people give you a solution within minutes. So I wanted to bring that to YouTube so that we could all sort of grow together as a worldwide 360 community. In a previous episode, somebody asked about slow motion, which made me think maybe I should do a breakdown about frame rates. So let's talk a little bit about what is a frame. Well, you've heard the term motion pictures, right? What you're seeing right now really isn't fluid motion. It is, in this particular setting, 30 pictures of me back to back to back to back to back that makes it look like I'm actually moving. When we first invented film, we figured out that the slowest frame rate that doesn't make you look all jerky is 24 frames per second. And to this day, that's still kind of considered to be the cinematic frame rate or the professional frame rate, though many people are drifting towards 30 frames per second these days. My Insta360 One X is 30 frames per second. My Mavic Air can shoot 24 frames per second, but a lot of the settings are kind of inclined towards 30 frames per second, and TV mainly uses 30 frames per second, so it's becoming a very popular frame rate. So why wouldn't you want to shoot with as many frames as possible? Well, there are a few things that you sacrifice. First of all, if I were to shoot everything at, let's say, 60 frames per second and play it back at normal speed, it almost looks too clear, to be honest with you. You know, you kind of want your videos to look a little bit larger than life, so it looks like an old 80s videotape video shooter, so it's almost too clear, too lifelike. The other thing is that when you shoot at higher frame rates, you lose the resolution or the size of essentially the pictures. So for an example, the GH5, the Lumix GH5, it will shoot 4K, which is, let's say it's this size, at 60 frames per second. Now, when you want to shoot 120 frames per second, it'll shoot at 1080p, which means you get this size of a frame. Why do you want to have this size of a frame? Because when you go into edit, it gives you this much difference to zoom in and out of without losing resolution. So the higher resolution you can shoot in, the more clarity you'll have in post. For example, on my Insta360 One X, this thing shoots at 100 frames per second. Now, normally at 30 frames per second, it shoots 5.7K, but at 100 frames per second, it only shoots at 3K. Do I care? Not really. To be very honest with you, I love high frame rates because everything looks cooler in slow motion. So I'll try to shoot things as slow as I can without being ridiculous. And one other thing to keep in mind is anything beyond about 60 frames per second, your camera will likely disable the audio. So once you're shooting at 100 frames per second, you will not be able to hear anything that's going on, but it just looks so doggone cool that I encourage you that unless you know you need audio, shoot at the highest frame rate you can so that when you're editing later, you could just look cool, impress your friends, and look like you're a professional like me. So if you have any questions about frame rates, that's kind of the basics, put them down below. I'll try to answer them when I can. Everybody else, feel free to chime in, give us your thoughts about what frame rates you tend to use, and give us your ideas about what has made things look cool in your 360 world. I am Scojo in 360. I appreciate everybody tuning in to the 360 community. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that little bell on the side because then you'll get a notification every time I put out a new episode every Monday and Friday. I'm Scojo in 360. I'm out of here in a dance.